Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's My Game show, where we are going to talk about how to create a solid foundation to help grow your recruitment company. And to do that, we're going to look at the 7 pillars that will actually implement that for you. Is that not right, Michael?
That is right, Kirsty. And I have to say, just before anyone comments, I'm back on holiday today. Back from holiday today. First holiday I've had in 2.5 years, and I'm buzzing. I've just got so much energy. If you don't take holidays, take some. Honestly, it's fantastic. I need another one to get another one lined up. It's good for the business to do
Immediately.
that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so as we go through, obviously, Mike, we're gonna get through a fair amount of stuff today. But as we go through, anybody's got any questions for Mike's, any queries, things like that, please feel free to shoot them into the comments section.
I've got one question straight away, actually. That's okay. Do you want to scale your business? Yes or no? Do you want to scale your business? I'm not saying how big. Just want to know, do you want to scale your business? I'm guessing that you do, which is why you're watching this particular show, but maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe it's just of interest. But yes, so let's talk about foundations and scaling your business.
Yeah, Mike, because I mean, we obviously spoke before, and there's this really interesting stat which I find fascinating, which is 73% of UK agencies have less than 10 employees. And as we know, most people want a scalable business. So does that mean that those 73% of people don't have strong foundations? Is that what that means?
Not necessarily. Could just be people don't want to scale, which is fine. You know, there are lots of people out there that just want a lifestyle business and on their own or a partnership. I think 50% of all over 50% of all UK recruitment companies are either solopreneurs or little partnerships. And that some of them, that's fine. Others, however, do want to scale. And the ones that don't scale, the ones that can't continue a growth pattern moving forward, because that's what that means, they don't have the right foundations in place. You know, it's that concept of yo-yo growth that we've talked about before. You know, where businesses grow to a certain level and then they fall back again, and then they grow and they fall back again. And sometimes people do it 3 or 4 times. It's weird, really. And it's like, well, what did I say? That the definition of madness is doing the same
thing, expecting a different result.
Yeah, over and over again. And well, you just won't. So you have to change something. And in many cases, it's building that foundation. That's the thing with it. Now, there is a danger zone, which is anywhere between 6 and 10 employees. That seems to be the period at which the wheels start to come off a little bit. And it loses, you know, the company outgrows its strength, is what it actually does.
Yeah, so I just sort of want to, on that one, what do you mean by company strength? Like, what does that statement mean? Because I sort of look at it and I understand what all the words mean, and then you put it together in a sentence and my brain kind of goes...
Okay, so to use an analogy then, right? So if you went down the beach with some bricks and some mortar and started building a wall on the beach, it would be fine for probably half a dozen courses. And then the weight of the bricks would not be supported by the sand and it would start to crack. And ultimately, if you built it big enough, it would just fall over, basically.
Right.
I know this for a fact because I built a brick pilaster at the side of my house with weak foundations and I had to knock it down and rebuild it with stronger foundations. Yeah, I did. So I live in breathing proof that is the case. Well, in businesses, what it means is, in that there are 3 signs that you can look for as to whether you don't have the strong foundations that you need. So the first one is that you can't break the link between how hard you work and how much you earn.
Right.
In other words, the more you work, the more money the business makes or you make. But the less you work, the less money it makes. There's a direct correlation between those two. That is not scalable. The foundations do not exist to the depth that they should go.
So that's very often sort of if you're finding that you're a business owner and you're earning a decent packet, but you work in every hour that God sends, and you probably work in weekends, and you're probably finishing work at 10 o'clock at night and starting work at 6 in the morning. Is that sort of what you're talking about?
It certainly can be. You know, it's just that there's direct correlation. So there's that holiday guide. So how long can you take off in your business without the business suffering? It's a little test, really. So when you start off, even if you're not there for a day, that's going to hurt. Then you get to the stage where you can take a long weekend and then a week and then a couple of weeks. And then if you build a truly scalable business, you can be off for 3 months. It really won't make any difference on a day-to-day basis, really. And those are the foundations that you need in place to make sure that you can not be dependent, or the business isn't dependent on you to earn its money. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you can manage your business from Acapulco. It's the Acapulco test.
We've never even been to Acapulco, though. That's the amusing thing. We don't know if it's nice there. We don't even know.
No, I saw Buster, I think is the film, with Phil Collins. It was the great train robber. And when they escaped and they got out the country, they went to Acapulco, Mexico. It looked like a nice place to me. It doesn't matter wherever you think is a great holiday destination, you should be able to go there and manage your business, which means that you have the data not only to tell you how you've done, which everybody has. So everybody has that data in place. But also you have data to tell you when things aren't going right, what the problem is. Okay, so you don't need to be sitting with someone. The term that they use is proximity management. Well, if you've got a small team, 6 to 10 people, then you can sit with them all. You know what they're doing. You know what's going on. And you can listen to them. You don't have to have anything in place. You can just manage them. Any bigger than that, and you can't. And then things start to happen in your business that you don't really know what's going on. And you get the results and they're not what you expected. But you don't know why that is. You have to then dig around to understand what's not right, what the problem is. You need to debug the business to get it to where it needs to be. So I think that there is that, it sounds a bit grand, really, this dependence upon data. But in actual fact, it is having the right data, not very much of it, but enough to tell you what the heck is going on in your business. A bit like a dashboard in a car, really, so you can see how much fuel you've got, what your oil pressure is, whatever else you've got in your dashboard. If
your car stops working and you've got no fuel, it's obvious what you should do. Or if your car stops working and one of your tires is flat, it's obvious what you should do, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Mine looks like the Starship Enterprise. Honestly, you've got all these lights. I don't know what half of them do. Seriously.
BMW like shiny things. I
like shiny things. I have no clue what they do. No clue. But the point is, you can have data in there which tells you, and that's important in your business. Now, the bigger you get, the more data you will need. Okay, and that's the thing. So you don't start off with this big wodge of data, these dashboards, cube 14 or whatever it is, and you get all this data and you're overwhelmed by it. No. You just get enough to tell you what you need at that time, and then as the business grows, you add more data to it.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And then the third thing that you were going to talk about.
Well, that's kind of related to the first one to a certain extent, is that no part of your business, no function of your business should depend on the knowledge, the experience, or the personal network of any named individuals. And that's really important for two reasons: because they can leave, which isn't safe, because the function that they're doing will go with them, or more likely, particularly if it's the owner, which could be, is that person becomes saturated, so that they can no longer do any more of whatever it is that function needs.
You used to refer to this as the bottleneck, where before you went scalable with Software Knowledge, your first company, you used to say that the reason the company stopped growing is because you were the bottleneck. You had your fingers in so many pies and nothing could get signed off without you, that everything became stagnant because you physically didn't have any more hours in the day. You only have so many.
It's not just hours, it's headspace as well. It's not just the hours. You can always find a bit of time, I think, but I can't have any more threads in my head because I can't juggle them all. And so that applies to anyone. So if you've got a really, really good, new business developer, what happens if they leave? How does that work? So you're not scalable if there's that dependence on individuals. So, you can tell if you've got a scalable business, because if you can pass all of those tests, you should leave now and get an early lunch, because you're going to know everything that I'm going to tell you right about now, I would think.
Okay, Mike. So now we've sort of talked about that. At the beginning, I did mention that we're going to tell people how to get this foundation they can grow from. So can we start looking at that now? Can we start getting into the practical? I like things practical.
You do. Yeah, and I do too. Simple. One of our brand values, simple and practical. Okay. Now, the 7 pillars that make a scalable business, any business, not just recruitment. Anyone watching this that does anything, you need something in these 7 pillars. So a pillar, it's kind of like a function, really, except it's a cooler way of saying the 7 functions of a scalable business. I don't really think that scans as well, does it really? But they're things that need to be done in your business. And as your business grows, that each function or each pillar will get stronger because it supports what's above it. Okay. So you'll have to go through this transitional process when you're about six employees normally is the first time, about 20 to 25 employees again when you get about 50 to 50 or 60 employees again, and continue to do that until you end up with an enterprise which can grow as big as you want. Most people aren't interested in that. They just want to be a bit bigger than they are now. So these 7 pillars. Now, to try and make it easier, and I don't know whether this is going to make it easier or not really, quite frankly, we split them up. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we split them into 3 components. Okay, because you can remember that. So before you bring them up on the screen, I'll just quickly look at each one in turn. So the first one is about direction. The second one is about revenue. And the third one is about support. Everything fits into those 3. So shall we start by looking at the first one, right, which is direction. Direction really has only one pillar in it, but it's an important pillar. And that is goal, strategy, and planning. Right? The business needs to become increasingly sophisticated around these 3 things. So,
okay. Just if I may interrupt, I get what a goal is. We've spoken about goals before. I understand what a goal is.
Do you though?
I think I do. I think I've got it at this point.
Yeah,
but strategy and planning, to me, just sound like synonyms of each other. They just sound like the same thing, but a different word. What's the difference between the 2?
Well, if the goal is where you're going, so I'm running this business because I'm the owner, and I want this business to do these things for me. Right? I want it to do these things for me. It's my business, does what I want it to do. Right? So once you've got that destination sorted out, then the strategy is effectively the route that you're going to take at a high level. I'm going to go by car and I'm going to go north, probably a bit more than that, but or whatever it is. Whereas the planning is the stage by stage. It's the next stage of the journey. And it's a lot more detailed. There'll be a lot more to it. And if I can mix metaphors, would you forgive me for doing that?
I'll allow it. I don't like it, but I'll allow it just this once.
Okay, so it's actually an analogy, not a metaphor. But if you were the helmsman, if you're the captain, the navigator, and the helmsman in your boat, then you're doing all 3 of those. And in your business, you are the captain's deciding where the thing is going to go. The navigator is going to plan it out, and the helmsman is going to steer the boat. Right? You do all of those 3 things. Now, a lot of the companies that I deal with really don't have enough in there, even at the stage that they're at now. It's massively important that you have those 3 things mapped out, because that dictates whatever the firm is going to go, what it's going to do, and also whether it's been successful, because you'll know that from the goals. All has to be in place. Otherwise, you'll just be going around in big circles, really.
Which some people like, but not. Yeah. Okay, so that's component 1, which is figuring out where you want to go, figuring out that direction. What's component 2?
It's revenue. Where the money is. We like that. Yeah. It's where the money is. Yeah. And I'd say, again, from the recruitment companies that I see and talk to, many of them put a vast majority of their effort into this, and quite rightly so, because it's where the dosh is, really. So, I get it, really. But it's actually got 2 pillars in it. Going back to what I said about dependence on key people. When a small business starts, usually the owner is very good at winning clients, has already got a big network of clients who are going to come with them, and just can do it. They're just great recruiters, right? So the first pillar, which is all about winning new clients. So there it is them. It's, they'll go and do it. Or they'll perhaps have a couple of people they've brought with them, but they know they can do it as well. So you've got these people who can do it. What you need to do as you get bigger is replace those people with a system that people work in. So you go from the people being the system, right? Me, I'm out there making phone calls, going to see people, working my network, right? It's me, through to a system that people work in. And those people, once you've trained them, could be anybody. They don't have to have a specialist knowledge, experience, or network to make it work. It's the system. A really key element of scalability is to have that system in place, massively so. Now, allied to that, of course, is a client care system. right? Now, we call it first choice client care system because it's about making you the first choice supplier to as many of your clients as you can possibly manage. It's a big old deal, really, because again, in many people's view of client care, and this, by the way, is not just restricted to recruitment. My goodness, no, it goes across the board. Is my idea of client care is what I do with a client when there's some work. So how do I treat them when there's some work? How do I keep in touch with them? How do I keep on top of what's going on? But when there's no work, I'm not interested because I'm going somewhere else. That is not client care. First choice client care is actually defined by what you do to a client when there is no work. And that's the bottom line. Again, you might have people in your business who are particularly good at that, which is great. But what happens if they leave, or what happens if they become saturated? They can't take on any more clients. But your client care starts to diminish. And one of the signs that you should look for in a business when it's reaching that saturation point is service levels drop. It's very common that clients will start to mumble and complain a little bit, or perhaps they'll even act on this turn of events and they'll start giving work to other suppliers, your competitors, that they wouldn't have done before. Service levels are dropping because you've outgrown your strength.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a sign. It's one of those signs that you can look for in a business. And if you have a system which does it, the people work in,
Yeah.
as opposed to the people being the system, then not only is it scalable, you can make it much bigger, but also you can properly manage it. You can understand how well your client care is being done. And you know, the single biggest, in fact, I'm giving you my top tip a little early because I've got two top tips. This is one of them. Do you want me to save it for later?
How dare you? I'll allow it because then later on
Sure.
there'll just be the one
I
top
can
tip.
save it for later if you like.
No. You've said it now. You can't just leave people dangling, can you?
Thing, right? I've used this as a top tip before, actually, on a previous episode, but it's so important to go with it again. Go around your clients and ask a simple question. Are we your number one supplier? Are we your first choice supplier? Yes or no? And please tell me the truth, because that's the acid test. And as you get bigger, that's something you can continually ask people and make sure that it's going north, not staying stable, or worse still, coming south. Well, you used to be, but now is not what you want to hear. But that's very common common as you grow. So those are the two pillars in the revenue component.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. The premise is that you keep the clients you've got and then have a system to get new ones in. And so then your revenues naturally just do this because you've always got that foundation of clients. Gavin makes a really strong point here as well. So what you're saying, Mike, is you're going to stop presenting the Mike Ames Recruitment Show and it'll just be all me.
Oh, I see. Well, hey, Gavin, look, I've had some very, very interesting calls from Netflix and the BBC. My agent is in discussions, and I'm telling you now, only in discussions with me. Nobody's mentioned Kirsty's name in those discussions.
We both know that's not true.
Hey, I'm just saying, I'm here because of you guys. Otherwise, it's the BBC or Netflix for me. Stephen Colbert's on the phone every three bloody minutes.
Sure
He's in.
Moving on from this absolute torrid web of lies, let's go on to the third component, please.
Right. Okay. So support.
Yeah.
Now, interesting. As you grow a business, everyone's very interested in winning new clients. Everybody's very, very interested in making the most of the clients that you have, maxing out those revenues, making sure that nothing goes to the competition, make sure that the client loves you and will stay with you forever. Right? Totally get that. But that's not the definition of a scalable business. So, win more clients, get more vacancies, make more revenue, employ more people, repeat is not, it's an element of scalability, but it isn't scalability. And that is the fastest way to discover whether you've got strong foundations, because if that's all you do and you haven't, the thing will fall over, which is why there are only 73%, blah, 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 of 10 employees less. So it's really important to look at what else you can do. Now, there are four things underneath there, which I'm just going to skim through. As I say, we're going to look at these in more detail because I can't give them justice right now. So the first one is an employer of choice, right? So again, another sign that you can look for that you're outgrowing your strength is that either you start to lose people, or people seem very stressed, very crabby, or their productivity starts to drop, or they take more sick days, is that you haven't got the necessary EVP and implementation of that EVP in place to make yourself that employer of choice. And I think that in my experience, because in recruitment or any service industry, you are what your people are. You are what your people do, I should say. And so to have good people and keep them inspired and motivated and happy is a crucial thing. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that fits into that pillar. And it's around EVPs really, and implementation of those EVPs, which we've spoken about on this show before. But that is absolutely crucial. And you need a very, very strong strategy to attract and retain and motivate just the right people that you need. So they don't all have to be massive high performers. That's not necessary, but they do have to be the right people for your business. So that's the first thing. Now, the next pillar, pillar 5, I think it is the 4 C's of marketing, which are, no doubt you're going to ask me that, Kirsty.
Mike, what are those 4 C's that you've mentioned here in this statement?
Damn, I think I've got it written down somewhere. Let me have a quick look. No, so it is content, communications, campaigns, and collateral. So content, we've spoken about a lot. We had Pete on the show talking about it, is the new superpower in business development because it de-skills both winning new clients, and you can put it at the very heart of a system to win new clients, and also client care. It can be a key element of our client care because you're basically adding value to people is what you're doing, but it's not dependent upon a named individual. One person could produce a great piece of content that everybody can use, so massively scalable. Right? Communications is how you get your key messages out there. Again, it's a system, it's a process that once it's set up, anyone can run. Doesn't have to have anyone with any great talent. Just follow the process to make that work. It is a machine, as it says there. Campaigns, we've talked about those before on the show. ADA campaigns, very important because again, that de-skills the process of starting a dialogue with a potential new prospect, which can then go into the system to turn that prospect into a client, which was pillar 2. And then lastly, collateral. You just need your key messages defined and presented in a consistent and compelling, clear and concise. Lots of C's there.
There's so many C's going on in this one, isn't there?
I know. Someone said I was just going to go down an avenue to make a joke there, but no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm just going to cut that off.
Yeah, we can cut that out, can't we?
No. The carrots. Let's move swiftly on.
Okay. So that is pillar 5. That's so important because all of that is about de-skilling and providing all the tools that are necessary to the people that you hire in your business to be able to do great things. It doesn't rely upon experience or knowledge or network to do that.
Sort of on this, what I like about these pillars is that they are sort of all interconnected because these 4 C's of marketing help to, first of all, make you an employer of choice because it will make people better at sales. It will make people better and less scared about doing certain things like developing relationships because you have this whole body of things behind you. It also creates a system to win high value new clients because, that's what marketing should be for, surely, and they all relate into each other. So that's what I like about this system is that when you do one, you're sort of helping one of the others as well, if that makes sense.
I think that's true. And, the other thing is with all of this, though, I have to say before we move on to the next pillar, is that it's in the support component for a reason because it does support lots of other things. And if part of your business is weak or it's not what it needs to be, it's going to affect other parts of the business. It's not isolated. You can't say, well, I'll do it all except that. You have to have them all and they have to work in unison for the magic to happen. So okay, so next one is management and control. Continual improvement. I got them wrong.
You're leaping ahead.
Now this, you're thinking, how boring, let's press on to the next one. Oh no, this is a really, really big thing because, as we said, service levels can drop as you grow. It's very common, and when the business reaches a certain size, you won't even know until the revenues drop off with the client or the client goes somewhere else or you get thrown off a PSL, which has happened to me in the past, in previous life, because I wasn't close enough to what was going on. So this is about monitoring quality, in other words, VOTC, giving your clients a voice to tell you or tell the business how well you're doing for them and being able to react to that information, that feedback that you get. It's also about gathering data around efficiency because, as we talked about, I think it was week before last week's show when I was here before Moles, if you want to grow a very profitable business, and you've got to work on efficiency. So this is gathering data about efficiency and then bringing those two things together to have a mechanism to continually improve the business in small steps, marginal gains. It's I say, of all of the things, of all of these pillars, it's the one that gets missed out the most, and yet I think it's the most powerful one, weirdly, in a strange
It's
way.
definitely one of our favorites. I think we do this a lot.
Well, all the others depend upon this for their success, right? That every single aspect of your business has got strengths and weaknesses and could improve and could be more efficient. And it's this pillar that will identify them and bring them out and help you to be on top of your game. That's the key element of it.
I think that's the key thing as well. This actually makes your job easier. So, like, for example, last week we spoke about the proofing group for the LinkedIn live course that we're doing, which is now full. And that is going to give us so many innovative ideas that are going to help us make our product better. So we're going to have happier clients and earn more money. So it helps in such a fascinating way that I think it seems almost silly to not do this one, because it literally makes your job easier.
It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer to do that. And we talked about it on the show before. Anyway, last pillar then is in fact management and control. All right. Now this is where you're steering a bit of a hand on the tiller. So you're doing the steering bit to make sure that you're sticking to the strategy and the plan is kind of happening and you're reaching those goals or getting closer to the goals that you want. Someone told me that an aeroplane on autopilot crossing the Atlantic is only on course for about 3% of the time. The rest of the time it moves off course, autopilot brings it back on again. And I think businesses are a little bit like that, in that they're constantly moving off course, because that's what happens. And the bigger you get, the more likely this is to happen. By having a proper management and control system in place, and by that I mean the meetings that you're going to have, the reports that you're going to have, how you're going to deal with escalation of problems and issues, what happens when the strategy is no longer relevant or the plan doesn't work, or it's all of that information that you bring together and the mechanisms to use that information to keep you on course and make sure that everybody's happy in your business. Because if they're not happy, eventually they'll leave, whether they're clients or in fact consultants. So lots of C's today. I don't know.
So many C's going. We need a new letter, really. K is an excellent letter. Just saying.
Yeah.
So I mean, Mike, if I may sort of summarize what we've done, because we've got through a fair amount today, which is always sort of the plan. And just to let everybody know, we will be delving in over the coming weeks into each of these pillars. So we will give those pillars much more time, where we'll be more practical about actual things that you can do to make those pillars better. That is the plan. But we wanted to give an overview because, like Mike said, is very often some of these pillars get they're like the weird, because the black sheep of the family that no one wants to do, but they all have their place and they all work together to create an easier life for you, which is, as a business owner, sort of what you want: an easier life with more money. It's the dream, isn't it? So we spoke today about the real importance of getting that foundation correct, because nobody wants that yo-yo business where you grow and then you get to 6 people and then suddenly something happens, you have to fire all the people, and then, or you grow and then you lose loads of clients and you go back again. Like, nobody wants that. And so to do that, there are some certain tests that you have to do to make sure that you can break the link between how much you work and how much you earn, that you can manage your company from Acapulco or Wales or wherever it is that you want to be on holiday, and that you've got no key person dependence, which includes you as the business owner.
Especially you as a business owner.
Yeah. And we sort of looked at the 7 pillars today, and we've just gone through them, so I'm not going to mention them again. But the key here is that you have to be intentional with your business. Sometimes a lot of business owners that I speak to, things sort of happen by accident. And I know, Mike, to a certain degree at the beginning of SK, this was sort of you, like things happened accidentally, right? You just sort of go with the flow.
Business, especially recruiters, because they've been trained to do something, which is put a bum on a seat. I don't mean to be rude, guys. I am a recruiter in the past, but that's what we do. And they're very good at it. But that is not growing the business. That is increasing revenues, and therefore I suppose the business is growing for sure. But growing a business is being a business person who happens to do some recruitment, as opposed to a recruiter that now owns a business. And it's all of this stuff. It's this that makes the difference. That's why there's only such a small amount of companies that do break out of that kind of 6 to 10 number and really push that business forward.
Okay, fantastic. So, Mike, to you in a second, I'm going to come to you for the second of your tips after you snuck that sneaky one earlier. But before then, next week, we've got Andrew Anastasio, who's going to be talking about how to get new people, new talent to work for your business without paying top dollar, I believe.
Yeah, it's very timely, I think. Andrew works as part of the Pertemps group. He runs a business within the group, and he doesn't pay huge amounts of silly fees. Gets some very good people into his business. He's going to tell us how he does that.
Fantastic. Okay, so it's a good show next week, so make sure you tune in. And Mike, your tip then? What if people are watching this and they're thinking, right, Mike, foundation, need to work on it? What would you say?
I would say go to the very first part of the very first pillar and figure out what you want from your business. Define your goals. And typically, it's around money, freedom, and security. Those are the three goals, really, that, excuse me, you should work on. Write them down if you haven't already. It's the first step. Once you've done that, then you can begin to think about the strategy, and then you can begin to think about the plan. And then that first pillar, big tick in the box, move on.
It's again about being intentional. You're going to grow a business that works for you, that does what you want it to. And so to do that, you need to figure out what you want it to do.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You should, that business should be a slave to you, not the other way around.
I like it. Okay, Mike. Well, I think that's been a great show. You're back from your hollybobs. I think we've had a great time today. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's watched today. It always brings a joy to our hearts to see you. And Mike, I want to thank you for coming after your first day back, which I know must be a shell shock with this lovely weather we're having.
Yeah, it certainly is. I miss Spain so much. There was a big yellow thing in the sky, and it was warm, and I was wearing a t-shirt. It was wonderful. I must book another holiday very soon. Anyway, look, I'll see you all next week. Thanks very much for doing the show, Kirsty, the Kirsty Ames Show.